Hello, hello, hello. Mary Luandre back again with another edition of Beyond Dressing Well Live. We have a wonderful program again for you this evening. I cannot wait to introduce our special guest and really dive into summer style. First day of summer is next week, so we're getting a little bit of a head start. But a couple of announcements before we bring our guests on with us is warm welcome to the three folks that joined our next session of Stellar Style today. We welcome Kat joined and Kelly and Andrea. So welcome. We ended up changing the start date from this past Monday to next Monday, June 20th, to accommodate some internal scheduling. So we do still have a couple of spots. So if you are interested, please get on my calendar, Sarah's calendar. We're happy to share details, explain some of the options for taking it, but it is a fantastic cohort. It's almost full. We have a few more spots open, but if it is something that you'd like to do, summer tends to be a really popular time for this seminar. Please jump on our calendars and we're happy to chat with you. So just wanted to mention that. Tonight, we have some really awesome promotions going on with our topic. First off, we do have a cheat sheet. So just put cheat sheet in the chat and Sarah will be sure to get those to you at the end of the program. And our special guest is also the Director of Marketing and Communications at Island Pursuit. She's going to tell the amazing story of her husband's store, Island Pursuit. But she has generously offered anyone in our community 20% off any full-priced merchandise. All you have to do is put 20% when you're checking off the website. Sarah's going to get that website up there, get the special up there as well. And we also have two $25 gift certificates that you can use online or in store. So it's going to be a really fun night. And I'm also thrilled to have a guest because I had a little bit of dental surgery last Friday. I don't know if you can see my face, but I'm definitely a little bit under the weather. Nothing can stop me from doing this show. But I never had that kind of surgery before. Don't think I was prepared for that, but I'm thrilled to have Laurie. She is a bundle of energy and she's going to take the lead tonight, sharing some phenomenal history and stories about these incredible summer iconic brands. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Laurie. Laurie there? Laurie Gomes Valentino. Here she is. Hello, Laurie. I feel like I have a new best friend. We've been like typing and chatting, and we both love clothes, and we both love all the same things. And of course, I love Sarasota, where you spend half the time. Mm-hmm. And I also love Mystic, Connecticut, where you spend the other part of your life. So, Laurie, welcome to our community. We have a wonderful group of women that just can't wait to hear from you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This is quite an opportunity. I got involved with Island Pursuit just in 2017. I came on board as a director of marketing. Michael and I actually met in 2015 when I was working as an ad rep in Sarasota, and St. Amand Circle, the shopping destination where Island Pursuit is located in Sarasota, was one of my advertising clients. So that's how we met. Although I didn't have much contact with him then, it was really when I was asked to sit on the board of St. Amand Circle Association that I got to know him, because he was also a longtime board member of the St. Amand's Association as well as the Business Improvement District for Sarasota. So
we'll get into the love story, because we all love a love story. We love to hear how people meet. Tell us Michael's story, and then we'll back into how you guys met, because his story alone is so inspirational for any entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs out there. And then how you guys met and became this incredible powerhouse team. It's just a beautiful story. So let's start with Michael's story.
Yeah, Michael has a very unique story. You know, it's like, it was the sort of thing when I heard him explain it to me, it's like, why didn't I think of that? Most of us go to college, get a job, and then build our lifestyle around our job and where we live. Michael decided basically that what kind of lifestyle he wanted. He knew he liked skiing in the winter and being on the water for water sports in the summer. So he actually started his very first business in 1976 with the Eskil's Clog Shop. I'm going to go back in time here for all of you who came of age in the 70s wearing clogs. And that was right in Kenmore Square in Boston. And then from there, he opened up different Eskil clog shops. So he had them in Hyannis and whatnot, and then in Provincetown. So he was in Boston and the Cape at that point. Then he decided, I really want to ski all winter. So he opened up Northern Pursuit. And it was near
Love that.
Killington Mountain. Yeah. And he would do ski rentals, so ski clothing, ski sharpening, all of that. And then somebody had introduced him through the skiing, process. He met a guy who really introduced him to the Vineyard. Another guy who was a pilot who had his own private plane, and they flew down there. He fell in love with the Vineyard, and that's when he, in 1983, opened his very first Island Pursuit. So he had Northern Pursuit and Island Pursuit. So he spent his winters living in a log cabin in Vermont, and his summers in a home in the Vineyard. So sweet deal, pretty good. So I never thought of that.
It's incredible, and and so just continue on his legacy for a
Sure.
moment.
And
Give
then,
us the Island Pursuit. What give us
right.
what the meaning of that was for him?
Right. So what he envisioned was, or how he envisioned Island Pursuit was he wanted to carry brands that were first to the market in their category. So when I first met him and learned his tagline was casual, authentic sportswear, I was like, well, what do you mean by authentic? And that's exactly what it is. He wanted those brands that were first to market in their category. And still today, as he's bringing in new brands, and Island Pursuit's going to be 40 years old next year, because like I said, he launched it in Martha's Vineyard in 1983. Then he moved down to Florida and started putting in stores down there in 1987. So we'll be 40 years old next year. And some of the brands that I wanted to talk to you tonight are just examples of those iconic summer brands that have meaning.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, I'm a Cape Cod girl, so I have grown up going to your Chatham store. And then,
Right.
of course, I spend so much time. I go to Sarasota every March. I have
Mhm.
two aunts, and my mom is down there. So I've also shopped at that store. So I was just so thrilled when we had a mutual friend introduce us. And
Exactly.
Laurie, just for you, I wore my Tommy Bahama dress. Most of my summer stuff is at my Cape house.
Yeah.
And I bought this jacket at your Chatham store probably 10 years ago, girl. And
So
I wear it with this dress. And I've
Makes
always kind of thrown this necklace on. And then
Nice.
these shoes are kind of beat up, but that's how I put this whole outfit together. So I wanted to wear that for you. I love this jacket,
Thank you.
and I love the dress. And I was just so happy that I had them both here and need them with me, because I was like, I want to celebrate Laurie and her husband's amazing store, and someone that appreciates fashion and retail and longevity. And as an entrepreneur, I completely value and applaud Michael's amazing story. So thank you for sharing that. So quickly, the dating story, and then we're going to jump into the brand. So
Okay,
give
cool.
it to us up straight.
Dating story. At my age, I had been married before, as he had, and I was, 55 when we first started dating in 2015. He was in a relationship that broke up and reached out to me over Facebook saying, asking me if I would show him around the single scene in Sarasota. And I quickly wrote back saying, I'll be of no help. On any given Friday or Saturday night, you'll find me at home with my fuzzy slippers on, watching a movie with my Shih Tzu. So, I don't go out. But we started, he started asking me out, and we started doing things together. And 3 months later, I moved in with him. And then a lot of things happened. My mom fell ill and whatnot. So we had actually gotten engaged in 2016, but then when we got back from that trip, my mother took a turn for the worse, and for that whole next year, it was all about her. So we didn't actually get married till 2019. We got married up here in Mystic. We actually bought a home together in Mystic in 2018, because we had opened up a store here in Mystic, Connecticut, which is just a lovely little, quintessential little seacoast community. I just love it here so much. And then in the winter, we live on Longboat Key near Sarasota. So it's a great gig, you know. I have to
And
admit.
that you guys have this history, you have this shared passion, and I
Yeah.
just loved your story when you told me. So, actually, that's a good way to ask. And Sarah, who's going to put all this in the chat, and don't forget, we've got a cheat sheet. So just put cheat sheet in the DM, and Sarah will get that off to you, and it's going to detail the special that Laurie's made available to you, and it also will detail the great brands that she's going to talk about tonight. But their current store, you've had a lot of stores, but right now they are in Sanibel in Sarasota, Florida,
Right.
Mystic, Connecticut,
Connecticut,
Chatham, and
Chatham,
in Newport.
store.
And
And the
then
West.
talk to us about the change of the Chatham store.
Right. So we were originally on the corner on Main Street, on the corner of Chatham's Bar in Main Street, and we left that location and moved into the Chatham Hardware store, the front part of the Chatham Hardware store. And this was right before COVID. And then 2 years later, the building got sold. So that's what happens, you know, when you're a retailer and you're renting places, you're always sort of at the mercy of, you know, the owner of the building. So this nice woman decided to sell the building. She's elderly and decided to sell it. So that's going to be an Ace Hardware apparently in town. So we started looking at places, ended up landing in the old Cuffy's building, which everybody that I've spoken to in my customer base is very excited about because it has parking and it's right next to Kate's Restaurant, which is like all the rage down there right now. So there's going to be a woman's fitness center on one side of us and a high-end bakery on the other side.
Oh, great.
So we hope to be reopening July 4th weekend, that weekend leading into July 4th. So it's the first weekend in July. But it's really, we're at the mercy of the contractors at this point. So I'm keeping everybody updated through emails, and we have a different Instagram account for each of our locations. So on the Chatham Instagram, that's Island Pursuit Chatham, I post, you know, what's happening with the Chatham location. As soon as I have a firm date, I'll be announcing that.
Okay, Laurie, what is the handle of the chat? We have so many viewers from all over the country, but we have a lot of people here in New England. We have a lot of people that visit in the summer. What is the handle so Sarah can get it up in the chat? What's the handle of the Chatham store?
The Chatham store is Island Pursuit Chatham.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, what a beautiful, and I have spent so much time down there with my boys. I mean, some of the brands that you carry were the brands that we just had so many great, my kids just graduated college, Laurie, but we had so many great field trips down there. So I can't wait to check it out. And put in the chat too, if you visited any of Laurie's stores, whether Florida, Newport, Mystic, Connecticut, or here in Chatham. That would be great to see how many of you have visited. And don't forget, drop in the chat, and all you have to do is drop in the chat to get the cheat sheet, and you will be automatically entered for the two $25 gift certificates. And Laurie is very generous to either mail it to you to use in store, or you can have an online version. Okay, so let's dive into the juicy topic, because I thought I knew a lot, Laurie, till I said we had the greatest Zoom call. I had so much fun chatting with you. You're a blast. Let's start with Lilly.
Okay. Everybody's favorite brand for the summer is Lilly. And we do carry Lilly in our Mystic store. So, in our Mystic store. So basically the background of Lilly, and this has been the real fun part of me for my job, because in addition to advertising, is how I met Michael, and now director of marketing, I also spent 10 years teaching. My degrees are in teaching. So I love to tell a story. And the fun part of my job is being able to tell the story. And people, when they come into the store, just love to hear the stories behind the brands. So Lilly's a story that a lot of people know, but I'm going to tell it briefly for those that don't. She was born in New York to socialite parents. Her mom, Lilly's mom, was an heiress to the Standard Oil fortune. Her father was also a socialite, but the real money was on the mother's side. So she grew up in that New York City socialite kind of place. And she went to a school where Jacqueline Bouvier also went in her youth. So they knew each other from back then. So fast forward, she marries Hubert Peter Pulitzer. Peter is what he went by. Peter Pulitzer was the grandson of Joseph Pulitzer, who was a newspaper man and politician. He's the guy that they named the very esteemed Pulitzer Journalism Award on on his behalf. They
Thanks.
named it after him. So having worked at the Boston Globe for part of my career, I remember we had a whole hallway of Pulitzer Prize winning journalists. So they're a real, power couple from New York. They decide to move to Palm Beach, where Peter owns citrus groves. And for something to do, because really back then in the 50s, women, married women who married well, didn't work. But she wanted something to do. So she started a fruit juice business where she set up a fruit juice stand and would make freshly squeezed juices for people. And she realized pretty quickly that her clothing was just getting wrecked, was getting stained with all this, citrus fruit juices. So she asked a dressmaker to make her a basic shift dress in multicolors, bright colors, to camouflage the spilling of the juices that were, hitting her clothes.
I love it.
Yeah, so people were commenting on the dress and wanted to buy the dress. So she had more of them made, and she started hanging them up in her fruit stand. And before she knew it, she was selling more dresses than actual fruit juice. And she called these dresses her Lilies, these simple little shift dresses. So from there, it's really quite interesting because then she ended up launching her own company, which she continued to run till about 1984 when she closed it. And at that point, it wasn't until 1993 that another company came in and bought it and like revitalized the brand. So for a while there was no Lilly in the market, no new Lilly. And then it was bought out by Oxford Industries, who's the same company that owns Tommy Bahama and Southern Tide. So, but I find it fascinating that, she started just creating fruit juice and then, developed this whole company. And, in today's age, we're very familiar with influencers. But back then, she had a really special influencer in the name of Jacqueline Kennedy, who she knew as a child, who, when her husband became president, was featured on Life magazine, and she was the cover story, and she wore a Lilly dress on the cover. And it's been written that Lilly actually said that she made that dress out of old kitchen curtains. But that's the dress that,
Jack put on. That woman just got the it factor. Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's Lily's story. So fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the second one we had identified is Vineyard Vines. That's another.
Okay, Vineyard Vines is a great story too, because these were two brothers that grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, and summered on Martha's Vineyard. In fact, they used to shop as teenagers in Michael's store in Edgartown. So Michael likes to take credit for some of the inspiration, but
I don't blame him. Granted, Michael, granted.
Exactly. So, but he knew them since they were teenagers. And then they went off to college and started their careers and realized that they just didn't want to be in corporate America. I think one was in financial services, one was in advertising. So they started making silk ties in these bright, preppy colors with their whale on it or the map of Martha's Vineyard or whatever. And they called them Vineyard Vines after Martha's Vineyard, and the vine because it's like a vine around your neck. And Ian was quoted as saying, he makes ties so that he never has to wear one again. He makes ties for those guys who still have to wear ties. So it's really a fun story. And they approached Michael, obviously, to sell the ties at Island Pursuit. And Michael's like, guys, I don't have a single shirt in here with a collar that requires wearing a tie. So then he had to stop bringing in woven, button-down shirts with collars so he could buy the ties from these kids because he had known them. And, they were off and running and, multi-bajillionaires now. So
wow.
That's a really fun
I knew pieces of that story, but I didn't know the whole thing. So that's fascinating. Yep. Okay, next is Southern Tide.
Southern Tide is sort of I don't want to say an offshoot, but it was inspired by this preppy movement that Vineyard Vines really encapsulated and really brought to market in a very strong way, where they were a full line to meet the clothing needs of the New England prep. Southern Tide was started by one single guy and his mom. And when they first approached Michael, it was kind of funny. Michael said they had one polo shirt in 4 colors. That was about it. But they did something very unique that no one had done before. He put like 8% spandex with the cotton to give the shirt a little stretch. And it was just something as minute as that really resonated with guys. And they found them to be very comfortable. Their range of motion when they were golfing was much better, and so forth. So that line started with just one polo shirt in 4 colors, and it was really about bringing that New England prep look to the South. And the original founder was quoted as saying, the South is a mindset. It's not a style, it's a mindset. And they also did some other things to incorporate some Southern style fabrics like the eyelet and the seersucker. So they use a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. And my kids really like the Southern tie, and they like the next one too. The next one is Johnny O.
Johnny O, same type of thing. You have to talk about those 3 together. Now, Johnny O was founded by John O'Donnell. You might not know who John O'Donnell is, but everybody knows who Chris O'Donnell is, his younger brother who works as an actor. He's on NCIS Los Angeles, I think is the name of the show, with LL Cool J. And he's a BC grad, Chris O'Donnell. Anytime you see him on TV being interviewed, he has a Johnny O shirt. And it's very easy to detect because it has a little guy with a surfboard. And that was really one of the keys to their success, was this logo with a surfboard, because every guy wants to feel like a surfer dude, no matter what they do, where they live, whatever. Everybody has that. The Beach Boys started that for us in the 60s with that whole California dreaming surf kind of lifestyle, and really romanticized that. They really capitalized on the romanticism that we still feel for that surfer dude kind of lifestyle. So they've done some fun things. They've done the tweener button, which is an extra hidden button so that, guys felt that one button was too low, but the other button was too high. It gives you an in-between button. So just fun little things like that these different brands do.
That is a great brand. Yeah.
Because honestly, there's not much differentiation in male fashion. It really hasn't changed much, in years and years and years. So
yeah, I love looking though. I love going into these stores like yours that have all these different. This time of year is just a fun time to shop.
It is. It's a colorful time of year.
I love. I buy a lot, and I give it at Christmas. So sometimes I go in and I see things and I buy them for Christmas. So that's awesome. So now we're going to segue back into some of the more of the iconic brands. That was a great overview of those 3 guys. Jack Rogers.
Yes.
And I got one of mine here.
Oh, there you go.
The only one I have, actually.
Yeah. Jack Rogers is a very interesting brand. Again, it was really influenced by Jackie Kennedy. She, in 1961, went to Capri, Italy, and fell in love with these leather sandals that were handmade. And they had a rondelet design, which if you hold up your shoe again, is that round. Yeah, that's the round. That's called a rondelet. And the whip stitching is they take the leather and they stitch it around. Sort of like those little cards you give to toddlers to teach them fine motor skills. That's what whip stitching is. So she fell in love with that, brought a pair of those sandals from Capri to her local cobbler in Palm Beach. And he created that sandal for her in a variety of different colors. And then, being her network, like I said, with Lilly, all of the women from all these major industrial era families like the Rockefellers, the Whitneys, the Vanderbilts were all wearing Lilly stuff. Anything that Jackie Kennedy put on was like an instant, success. She was like the #1 first influencer ever. And and it's kind of interesting because there's also a brand called Palm Beach Sandal that we carry in Chatham. We don't carry the Jack Rogers because somebody else in town has it, but we have the Palm Beach Sandal. So when you read about both, they both take credit for being the company that took her idea and brought it to market. After all the research I've done, I believe the original sandal was in fact called the Palm Beach Sandal. One guy took it upon himself. His dad owned a small shoe factory in southern Florida, and he brought he started mass producing them, and he hired a gentleman from LA to sell them, go on the road and sell those sandals along with, other offerings. And when that gentleman, that sales rep, retired, he had sold so many of these sandals, they named the sandal after him, and his name was Jack Rogers. So that's where you get the Jack Rogers name.
Never heard that one before. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a great one.
So it would be interesting to find out exactly like when it's separated out. Maybe there was just no patent, so you had 2 companies creating the same shoe. I don't know. But the Palm Beach Sandal is still handmade in Palm Beach. And the Jack Rogers is still handmade, also in South Florida. I want to say either in Hollywood or Miami, and they're just fabulously made, shoes. They last a long time.
Awesome. For those of you just joining, we have Laurie Gomes Valentino here. She and her husband is the founder and owner of Island Pursuit. Laurie runs the marketing and communication. She is a veteran retail person. She's full of information. Just drop in the chat cheat sheet and you will be entered into two $25 gift certificates. And Laurie is also generously offering anyone in our community 20% off full price merchandise, either online or in store. Sarah's monitoring the chat. She'll get you the cheat sheet at the end of our program. But let's keep going. I could talk about this all night. So the next two are ones that are not that well known. I certainly know about them in my line of work, but let's start with Helly Hansen.
Helly Hansen, great brand. In fact, one of the senior executives from Helly Hansen summers in Chatham. So he actually came into the store and was wondering why we didn't have Helly Hansen. And it was a long story, but we actually got it because of him, because Michael had been trying to get it for quite some time. But Helly Hansen, now we're going back. All the brands we've been talking about have been American brands. This is a European brand. We're going back to the 1800s, the late 1800s. There was a sea captain named Captain Hansen, and he, you can imagine, he's from Norway. You can imagine how treacherous and how cold and how just really challenging the weather conditions are for a fisherman or a sailor in those northern waters. He needed to find a way to stay warm and dry, and there was no waterproof gear. Helly Hansen is the creator of waterproof gear. Sure. What he did, he made his clothing out of a very coarse linen and then dipped it in linseed oil to create like that duck effect, the water bubbling off the duck's back or rolling off the duck's back. So he and his wife started that business by making, gear, making clothing, pants, and the jackets and whatnot out of this very coarse linen and soaking it in linseed oil. And they are the reason why we have waterproof gear now. And what's fascinating is when you start to talk about the European brands, there's another one we're going to talk about tonight, they're just all about quality. They weren't even intended to be mass produced or mass distributed. Helly Hansen is an exception. Because they were so durable and because the quality was such that it became the number one brand among world-class sailors, competitive skiers. They did a great job really infiltrating the ski shops in all these major ski areas around the world. So they're just a brand that's been around forever, will continue to be around forever, and the quality is just second to none. Really
and we learn in our role, and I'm sure Sarah would agree with me, we're in so many homes. And I was pretty young when I started this business. And I remember where I was when I first discovered that brand. It was in somebody's closet, well-traveled, had incredible clothing. All of her things were high quality. I think she was a skier. And then now, I had somebody recently trying to get rid of a piece of it. And I'm like, no, we're not getting rid of that. We're putting it in a different place in your home so that you actually use it properly. But I am someone that really appreciates quality and craftsmanship, and that one is second to none.
Well, that's funny that you tell a story about somebody's first encounter with Helly Hansen, because my first encounter with Helly Hansen was when I was at Fagawi weekend in my single days in Nantucket, and it was cold, and we were out, bar hopping, as you do during Fagawi. And I ran into the store and grabbed a Helly Hansen fleece, which I still wear to this day. And this was going back, 2000, I think, around 2000. So it's 22 years old, still in my closet, wear it all the time, still looks great. And I was telling the story once to Michael when I first got together with him, was learning about his brands. He said, Laurie, that had to have been my store. That was Island Pursuit. I was the only one on the island that carried Little did I know, running into that store because I was cold, that I would end up marrying the owner of that store someday. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. The Fagawi, what an incredible weekend that is. I've been to that
Yeah.
as Laura. I think it's just amazing, and I
It was
just
a
love.
could never do it now, but
I know Michael. I feel like you telling his stories and how he created this brand is I don't want to lose sight of that. It's truly remarkable, and
it
for him,
really is because in
it
today's
you
world,
have the trust of
yeah,
these people. I mean, these are high end European brands. And that leads us to the next one, which again, I remember the day. I'm shutting my eyes. I remember the client, the home when I first put my hand on a St. James.
St. James, yes, and I'm
Tell us.
wearing a St. James.
Oh, there you are with that signature stripe. So tell us
Exactly.
about that.
They are the creators of this, what we call the Breton stripe. Breton means of Brittany. St. James is a small village. Michael and I had the good fortune of being invited to their 130th anniversary, I believe it was. So we got to go to St. James. We had dinner at the Abbey on Mont Saint Michel. St. James is a little village at the intersection of the Normandy region and the Brittany region of France. And what happened with them, and the mill had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. But in the 1800s, the French Navy was also based in Normandy. And they asked this mill, who at the time was making sweaters, like fishermen knit sweaters. They were using this stripe, just very nautical, warm sweaters to keep the sailors and the fishermen warm and dry. They were then commissioned by the French Navy to create the new uniforms for the French sailors. So if you ever look back at old pictures, vintage pictures of French sailors with their little berets, they're wearing this navy blue and white. Mine happens to be a light blue and white. They do them in all different colors now. But that's how the Breton stripe or the nautical stripe was formed. And what happened was, this was the late 1800s. Then around that same time, at the turn of the century, the French government gave the workers of France a holiday. It's so funny how this is like backwards. Thank you. It's like a mirror image.
You're doing great. You are fascinated, Laurie. We are running up against the clock, but I just love St. James, and I when I first started my company way back in the day, there was a lot of very proper women that I worked with, and they always had the striped skirt with the long sleeves, and they would wear it with little proper shoes in the summertime. So it's another brand that the minute, when you do what we do, you just can feel the quality. You're going through someone's closet and you just can feel it. So we'll end with tonight, because we're just up against the clock. And again, we are going to pick our winners tomorrow. Sarah always picks. There's two $25 gift certificates. If you're really interested in St. James or Helly Hansen, or just what's new and different with Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, 20% off any full price merchandise, either in store or through the web. But the last one, and it's probably my favorite because I'm a big Tommy Bahama girl. Give us a little background on that, and then we'll.
That is the funniest brand. I mean, everyone gets an award for something. The funniest brand, I think, in terms of how it came about, is Tommy Bahama. There were two men, Bob Emfield and Tony Margolis, had been in retail. They actually met in 1969. They were in retail for decades. They were both working for the brand Britannia. Remember the Britannia jeans back in the day with the little British flag? They made a ton of money. And in fact, I believe they even retired. And they were such close friends, they would vacation together with their wives. And so they would go to these beach, resort type places. And Bob, one of the gentlemen, Bob, had created this fictional character in his head called Tommy Bahama. And he was the type of guy that lived on a beach, smoked cigars, drank nice red wine, and his motto was just relax and enjoy. And through them talking about this and whatnot, they came out of retirement, met with a designer that they knew very well, and created this brand, Tommy Bahama. Then they accelerated the brand by bringing the restaurant into it, and it's called Eatertainment. So you go to eat and you also have the store. And they did something very smart. They targeted specific markets. They targeted Naples, Florida, Sarasota, Florida, San Diego. And they opened up the first store in Naples with the restaurant right attached. And I know because I used to go to Naples quite a bit. I mean, it was like a $300 evening. You'd go to wait for your table. You've got an hour to kill. What do? You go to the store. By the time you buy a couple of items and have dinner, I mean, it was genius. But it all started on a fluke. this imaginary character. There is no real Tommy Bahama. People think like that's the name of the founder. No, it was founded by these two guys that had worked with Britannia jeans, made their fortune with Britannia.
I did not know that. I knew it was a fictional name, but I did not know that piece. And I
They
think
have money.
Sarasota is one of the best.
Yes,
The one
yes.
in Sarasota is amazing.
Well, you know what makes it hard, and I give Michael a lot of credit for the multi-brand retailer. I don't know if today you could do what Michael did back in 1983, opening up Island Pursuit, being a multi-brand retailer, because he used to sell Tommy Bahama in the Sarasota store. He used to sell Lilly Pulitzer in the Sarasota store, Brighton, all these other brands. They see that you're doing so well. What do? They open up a corporate store. Right. So now we have to compete, and that's one reason why we pulled out of Newport as well. You mentioned Newport. We're no longer in Newport, so I don't want people to be confused, because so many of our top brands, Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Helly Hansen, they have their own stores. So you have, and it's just, it just does, the numbers just didn't work, because you've got you've got your vendor, also your competitor, and that's,
Yeah, it is the way that, I mean, we could do a whole nother program on retail.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, yes. So, Laurie, before we wrap up, you were just such a delight. Really, truly a delight. This has been amazing. I cannot believe the information you just packed in 30 minutes. But just for our audience, again, tell us where your stores are.
Okay, so our stores in New England are here in Mystic, Connecticut on Main Street, and also Main Street in Chatham in the old Cuffy's building. We're taking that over, and hopefully we'll be open the first weekend in July. And in Florida, we're in Sanibel at Periwinkle Place Shops, and in Sarasota at St. Armand Circle.
Okay. Well, can we have you back sometime? I might do that. We're going to do something. You and I are buddies. We'll get our creative
new brands to talk about.
I think I'm going to stop by Chatham. I want to do some shopping. I'm definitely coming to see you in Sarasota. No question. Yeah. The only story, I haven't been to your Mystic store, so I think that might be
Mystic. That's got more things than all the other ones, because we didn't have any restrictions. So that's the store where you can buy the Lilly, you can buy the Jack Rogers, you can buy everything. There's no restrictions with other vendors also carrying those brands. So it's been a delightful little market to be in, because we can showcase our full line.
Oh, awesome. Well, Laurie, thank you so much for your time and all everything you did to make this just such a delightful 30 minutes. And guys, I hope you know what we say. We always want you to leave with 2 or 3 ideas. I think Laurie left you with a lot more. But thank you all for showing up. When you show up, we show up, and we have a great time. Sarah will get those cheat sheets out. We will pick the winners. And again, if anybody is interested in 90 Days to Stellar Style, we start the new cohort on Monday night, and we do have a couple of spaces. And either Sarah or I would love to chat with you, learn more about your style, and make the right recommendation. So we're going to say good night now. We'll see you again next week. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurie.
Thanks. Bye-bye.